All right. Hello, ESA. We've seen some pretty incredible stuff by some very talented runners so far, but now it's time for the robot uprising. That's right, I'm talking tool-assisted speedruns. Some of you may be familiar with the concept already if you saw the Spyro TAS earlier in the marathon, but just for those of you who aren't, there's going to be no human gameplay here. I am not going to touch the keyboard for the next 30 minutes. Instead, everything, every input, every movement, every little strategy has been meticulously planned out and is going to be executed with frame-perfect precision by our TAS bot. The point of this is not to showcase human skill. The point of this is to showcase exactly how far these games can be pushed from a purely theoretical perspective.
And yeah, the game we've been pushing for the last 2 years now is The King's Bird, a indie precision platformer with a glide mechanic released by Serenity Forge, coming up on 5 years now, 5 years ago now. So without further ado, I'm Alexspeedy. I made the tools that we're using to play back this task, and I did a lot of the deep research into exactly how the game works, and I'm currently the any % record holder.
And I'm Gliperal. I made the input editor for the tools, and I also did most of the tasking for this run. We've also got to give credit to Namus, Chili, Ryu, everyone else who contributed strats and improvements to this task to make it as good as it can be. We're currently sitting at 27,397 re-records. And we did get a donation incentive met, I believe, Tolly?
Yes, you sure did. It was met.
So we're going to be seeing a soft lock at the end of this run. And I believe that's it, Alex?
Yeah, ready to go.
Yeah.
So get ready to create a new save here. And on 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, so we start out with this beautiful opening scene, Quill singing as she soars through the skies. This is her dream. She dreams of flying. There's not much we can do to speed up this cutscene, since it is one of the few points in the game where we do have an actual speed cap. We do get 2 dashes on the starting platform to get a little bit of a boost. And you can see in her dream this barrier around her, much like the barrier around the kingdom in the background there. That's her home kingdom, and that's where she's going to wake up after the dream ends.
But alas, it was a dream. So here Quill is going to be waking up in her home without her cloak that she dreams of. So the intended strat at the start here is to go down and under this starting platform, but we go up and over with a super jump, which I'll be explaining later, then falling down the other side using the speed to redirect up over this next building, chain a ridiculous number of dashes on these tiny platforms, hit a bump in the road, go flying over the rest of the village, and then here we actually have to slow down so that we don't soar straight over this cutscene trigger that we've just hit.
And here we get the first good look at the barrier that surrounds our kingdom, as well as our king. You'll notice the rest of the people in this kingdom that we passed in the background, they don't have cloaks. We don't have a cloak. It's only our king who gets that luxury, and he can use it to enter and exit the kingdom at will, exploring the outside world. The people of this game, they have a special relationship with these cloaks. They can't exit a barrier without one, and so the king maintains the barrier and keeps his people safe. Quill wants to explore the outside world. She dreams of flying, but for right now she's stuck in the kingdom. But at the end of the game, she's going to have an important decision to make, whether or not to maintain the barrier, keep her people safe from the dangers of the outside world, or whether to destroy it, give them cloaks of their own and allow them to be free. And because you donated for the softlock incentive, that's the one we're going for, because that's the only way we can softlock the game.
That's right. So this first level, we're going to be watching a lot of cutscenes, which will be taking a while, but technically, there would be a way to skip it, because every level in this game has a physical end trigger in it, which if you touch it, you immediately move on to the next level. It just so happens that the one in this level is not only behind a giant barrier, but inside a death zone as well, so it's going to be tricky to get to. Then coming up here, we've got a trick called a cutscene dash, which is exactly what it sounds like. We're going to dash here as we hit this cutscene trigger. And the way cutscenes work is that, well, this one specifically, you get teleported up to the top before the cutscene ends. So the dash can come out during the cutscene, and when we end, we see we're going to pop forward a bit, saving a few frames.
You think Quill should be messing around with all this stuff?
It looks complicated.
Oh no, that looks painful.
Into the soup bowl.
Yeah. Although, did we have a little bit of a cloak trail there?
It did look like, ooh, yeah. So we have the cloak. The superpower of this game, it's gonna get insane here. So to the right of us, immediately after this cutscene, there's another cutscene trigger, but it doesn't quite extend to the ceiling. So by using the cloak, we can fly around and just squeak above it, skipping that cutscene, then fly all the way down here, clip out of bounds under the barrier into the death zone far enough to hit that end trigger, skipping the second cutscene as well.
And just like that, we're in the tutorial. There's going to be a little bit of a secret area coming up here, so if you want to avoid spoilers, I recommend looking away for about a minute. Because we're going to take the intended route to get up there, but building up way more speed than you're supposed to have, redirecting all that speed down backwards into this corridor, clipping out of bounds again, and now we're whizzing along right above the death plane, narrowly dodging going back in bounds there. There's just barely enough space below that little inlet and above the death plane for Quill to squeeze through. Dodging another one there, and just like that, we've done the tutorial.
Great tutorial. So now that we've learned exactly how this game is meant to be played, we are in the Forest Kingdom, the first of the 3 main kingdoms of this world. And in each of them, we're going to have to beat 10 levels before moving on to the next one. So first up here is Twin Tree Village, the first actual level of the game. We're going to be dashing off as many surfaces as we can touch and weaving through some spiked.
Yeah, so there's actually 2 ways to get out of bounds that you'll be seeing in this task. The first one's a bit situational, but the second one we can do basically on any corner, any small zigzag, because when Quill approaches a corner, the game, sometimes depending on her trajectory, decides, hey, you were probably aiming for this side, so we're just going to put you on it, which is really nice, but we can abuse that here. We're going to attempt to hit this starting platform so that leeways Quill onto the small slopey bit, and when it does, we just go straight through the floor. Because we're coming in at a diagonal angle, the game can't quite calculate where to put Quill on that slope. It makes its best guess, but because we have so much speed, that best guess happens to be in the floor.
Then here we're going to be using some techniques that we'll be explaining through the run. We're going to be doing corner boost, edge pull, wall jump, and then slam into the ceiling. So the slam into the ceiling is actually slow, but the reason we have to do it here is because you can't glide out of a wall jump until you stop moving upwards. So often we'll be doing wall jumps to build up speed here, like here, but then can't do anything until we stop moving upwards. So it's a trade-off between the speed that you get from the wall jump versus the control you have from the glide. Then in the next level, there's going to be a trick that we call a hook dash or a hook jump, which is when you collide with a corner, the game will give you a little bit of leeway to get around it. And it basically looks like you're dashing on the wall that's facing away from you, kind of. And these are really, really precise, but often let us take a much more direct path through a level, skipping wall jumps and such. So if you watch at the start here, that is a hook jump, and it skips a couple wall jumps there. Another cool quirk of how wall jumps work is that the faster you're moving, the more horizontal speed you get out of them. So here we're going to be building up loads and loads of speed, and then this wall jump that we get right here sends us flying over the rest of the level, skipping pretty much the second half of it.
Yeah, so corner boosts and edge pulls, they're basically the bread and butter of this run. And this level we're going to be climbing a huge tree, which is where edge pulls really shine. Basically, whenever you've got a floor or a ceiling that you dash off of, the game wants that dash to go straight, and in order to achieve that effect, it gives you some zero gravity frames. But if we glide during that dash, like there, we can just take those zero gravity frames and go straight upwards, and again off of that ceiling, taking us straight up to the top of the level. And that's basically a way to gain height for free.
Then after this level, in the next Nexus movement, we're going to be doing 3 super jumps in a row, that same tech that we used at the very start of the game to skip the starting platform. And the way that works is that, well, cool skip coming up here by the way, straight over, skipping the second half of the level. Super jumps, when you climb over a ledge, if you don't quite have enough speed to get over them, the game will give you a little nudge to help you over. But we can abuse that by doing a dash and a jump during this animation, going way higher. So 1, 2, and 3 super jumps, going straight up, skipping tons and tons of wall jumping back and forth to get up that section. Then this next level, we're going to be doing some more out of bounds. 2 more quick clips in a row to skip some winding corridors and keep all of this speed that we're building up right at the start of the level. So watch out, we're doing 1, 2, straight through the level, just keeping all that speed. And the way those work is that when you dash, the game accelerates you through the course of the animation. But if you leave the surface you're on while you're dashing, then the game will give you all the speed that you would have got all at once. But crucially, it doesn't do collision checking on this extra speed that it gives you. So if we line it up correctly, we can use it to just nudge ourselves out of bounds.
So one cool thing about this TAS, there's actually 2 control schemes for this game, and there is a single frame in the TAS where we're going to be using both simultaneously. Basically, you've got the regular control scheme, which is arrow keys and a dash button, and then you've got dash axis, which is essentially the same as dash and up arrow or dash and down arrow. The difference being that dash axis takes priority on walls, whereas regular controls take priority while gliding. And we're going to use that at the very beginning of this level. We're going to jump and smack down into that wall. And the reason we do that is because when you go down into a wall and then jump up away from it, it doesn't want to kill all of your downward speed, so it gives you a little bit of a boost upwards. The faster you're going downwards, the bigger the boost, and so we use the regular controls to glide down on that frame while using dash axis to get the jump up and away from the wall. And that's the 10th level in Forest Kingdom, so now we're going to be moving on to the first shrine in the level, or in the game. Notice the murals on either side here, depicting the people, the way they're using acorns as currency in this kingdom. And you'll see a few more murals in the background here. And at the very end of this shrine, surrounded by owl iconography, we'll get our first good look at this large owl-like spiritual manifestation, much bigger than any of the totems we've encountered so far throughout the run at the end of the other levels. And this one's going to give us a dream. It's going to give us a little bit of an insight into the history of this kingdom, the way the people used the power of the cloaks to grow the trees, making their homes in the treetops. But the dream becomes twisted and corrupted, this tangled overgrowth consuming the scene, and eventually overtaking Quill as well. And the murals outside of this shrine, they depict the people of this kingdom becoming subjugated, their currency stolen by a mysterious individual who is suspiciously missing from the final mural. And all of a sudden, this game is no longer about just Quill finding her freedom. No, there's something bigger going on here, and we're going to find out what it is. As we move on into the second kingdom of the game, the Lake Kingdom now, I want you to pay special attention to the current state this kingdom is in particular some of the architecture in the background, as we've got a little bit of time for some messages. So Tolly, take it away.
Oh my god, thank you. We have so much love coming in for incredible people watching at home. We have a big one here from Sparky. It's $797.
Wow, thank you so much.
And it says, let's start a $797 train. Just kidding. Here's $1 for every bird. Wish I could be there. And we also have another big one here from Helmet. It's $125. And it says, it's hard to not donate to ESA with everything they do to make this event a success and support a good cause. Even more so knowing there's another potential Milestone Madness and bonus run to meet. Let's go.
Wow, thank you so much for those incredible donations.
Sparky, a great runner of this game as well, by the way.
Mm-hmm. So here, yeah, just continuing to dash on every single surface we can touch, even though we have all this speed. Gotta save those frames.
Yep.
Then, yeah.
This level's fun. You gonna explain this one, Alex?
Yeah, go on then. So here we're gonna be playing a bit of pinball with Quill. We're gonna be bouncing her off the ceilings. So starting with an edge pull there to get a little bit of speed, and then a big hook jump here, build up even more, and then watch for the ceiling bounce coming up here, kaboom, bouncing off, redirecting all of our speed back down. And the way that works is that we actually have to hold left for exactly 1 frame just before the ceiling, so that we keep all the speed and don't lose it by slamming into the ceiling.
All right, I'm seeing a lot of RTA runners in chat. Anyone who's familiar with the RTA of this game might be familiar with the technique of ledge canceling. We don't use it much in this TAS. It's slow because when you go up a wall and you ledge cancel onto the surface, you lose all of your speed. And we don't like doing that. We'll use it occasionally, like for instance in this level right there in order to avoid going up into those spikes. And you'll see a bit of an interesting ledge cancel there. We go backwards away from the wall. That happens a lot of the time RTA when you buffer a wall jump into a ledge cancel. You get knocked away from the wall like that, which is why we've affectionately given it the title of Corner Fudge. Corner Fudge, yeah. But the way that works is that this extra speed from the wall jump, you still get the ledge cancel, but it overrides that speed from the dash, and you get sent backwards away from the wall.
Then next up we have a different type of level. So in all of the previous levels we've just been beelining it to the exit. For this one we have to collect all these totems scattered around before we can leave. Which for the TAS just means build up all the speed you can and zip by each one in turn. There's also another type of level, thank you, where you have to give up your cloak to enter, but obviously without the cloak it's way slower, so we won't actually be seeing any of those in this run. Then Colonnade is the place where we use all the hook dashes to make these sharp turns, otherwise we would just slam into the spikes, making it look very easy there.
Alright, so we sort of skimmed over corner boosts earlier because there's a lot to explain in this run, but this is a good level to touch up on them because there's going to be 3 obtuse corners in a row here, which are a really good surface for building up speed. You're going to see them ready. There's 1 and 2 and 3, and just like that, we're up to the top of the rooftops. And that's because obtuse corners like that, you get to maintain all your speed when you transition across them, unlike 90-degree corners where you just slam into it. And we can use that in order to get the dash off one wall, the dash off another wall, the jump between the two, and if you do the jump with precise enough timing, you'll still get that redirection along the second surface, so you'll get to maintain all of the speed that you've built up.
Then it might not look like it in this task, but you can actually run out of glide in this game. And the way that that works is that there's a timer that ticks down while you're gliding. When that hits 0, you're left with a column of air that you can glide within forever. But if you leave that column, then your glide starts getting weaker and weaker, which you can see as the cloak trail blinking, until it runs out completely and you fall like a brick. So to avoid that, we touch surfaces, which refills your glide, and also feather the glide button, so pressing, releasing quickly to make it last longer.
Alright, next level coming up here, we've got Waterfall Mountains. As the name implies, we're going to be climbing a mountain. There's a cool spot at the top of this level where there's a little hole in the ground, and if you fall through it, you end up in a lower section. But as a TAS, we can just build up enough speed to use that hole in reverse. So we're going to do a few dashes there, and then big edge pull up through the hole, and we even maintain enough speed to make it up to this platform here. This level is really cool in general, just because it's basically a bunch of floating platforms in all of these sections, and so you can kind of pick and choose which ones you want to jump, dash on, edge pull in order to make it up to the top.
Then this next level has some really precise gliding. So we're going to have spikes on our right and then walls on our left that if we touch them will drag us into the spikes. So making it up to the skip there. And then we got the same again, but even tighter here, right through to skip over this tower. And we can actually get over the second tower as well, but it ends up just being a few frames slower, which is kind of sad, but that's how it goes.
So you might have noticed that we haven't seen any people in these kingdoms. We've seen them in our home kingdom, and there used to be. You can see in the mural right there a couple people. So we know that at one point there were, but we don't really get to find any of them. And there'll be more murals in this kingdom depicting their accomplishments, the barrier they built in the lake, but it becomes destroyed. And once again, this mysterious individual missing from the mural. This time he's not satisfied with their currency. This time he's after their cloaks too. And another totem, this time the Heron's totem, giving us a dream into this kingdom, the way they use the power of the cloaks only to gain knowledge and power, but once again the dream becomes cracked and shattered at the end, Quill ending the dream by sinking down into the water at the bottom here, much the same way the buildings of this kingdom are slanted and half sunken down into the lake. And that's why throughout this kingdom we've been dashing on sort of broken bits of architecture that have been sticking up out of the water. And it's almost as if we're following the trail of destruction of this one individual as we now make our way into the third kingdom of the game, the Sky Kingdom. And this is where the training wheels really come off. This is where the game truly begins. And you're going to see the TAS abuse that to the fullest potential. So as we watch it absolutely destroy these first couple levels, Tolly, if you've got anything for us.
Oh, I got so much. We have $50 here from Don Dolly saying, "Burb, but fast." We also have an anonymous $5 donation here saying, "We need one more Plumvid before ESA closes." Well, if we can meet the incentives, we'll extend the marathon a little bit and keep a close eye on those intermissions. We also have Craxy Daniel here with $20 saying, "I love ESA. Bonus run? Yes, please."
Got time for a couple more? Yep.
All right, in that case, I will keep going because the Dust Force community is showing up in force here to support. We have Mr. Simon with $10 saying, this game looks cool. We also have John's Bird with $10 saying, this game looks... Wait, this isn't Dust Force. Anyway, this game looks beautiful. Shoutouts to Gliperal and Alex. And we also have $20 here from Maybetta saying, this game looks cool.
Thank you very much. Dust Force community showing up strong there.
Alright, this is a cool level. This one, it's basically comprised of a bunch of hanging compartments down from the ceiling. The way you're supposed to do it is build up height in one and then swing around to the next, build up height in that one, glide around to the next, all the way up to the top right. Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're just going to build up speed on the first one and go straight to the end. Because this is Sky Kingdom, it lets you do that. This kingdom is really about, you know, advanced mode. Now it's the time for you to find your own path and make your, well, except for this level. This level is terrible. This is a claustrophobic mess of spikes and narrow corridors, and you can barely get through. If you dash too many times on those walls, you end up flying into the spikes on the ceiling there. You have to do a lot of hook dashes in order to like carefully navigate around this geometry. And even when we can build up speed in this TAS, you'll see we get a little bit right here from this corner boost, and then we get 1 second and we have to kill it right there so we don't fly up into those spikes on the ceiling. And we actually do that by dashing down that wall right before jumping off it. We save our dash in order to slow down rather than speed up.
Yeah, so, well, with the exception of that last level, yeah, Sky Kingdom really is just a playground for this TAS. Using the glide to the fullest potential, doing loops to build up speed, and skipping large portions of each of these levels. And this one, Royal Garden, is a great example of that, because we start right here, and the end is right above us. So what do? A few loops, a few wall jumps, and skip straight up to the top. Skipping, yeah, a ton of winding underneath for the intended route.
And speaking of loops, we're going to see a few more in the next level as well. This is Island Hamlet. This is one of those really cool levels where there's so many different routes. Like, I've seen probably 3 different casual players complete this level completely differently, 3 different speedrunners complete this level completely differently. The TAS does something different. It just goes up to this corner where it can do loops and goes straight up to the top. But this next level coming up, Colosseum, it's one of the few, actually it's the only level in this game that the TAS does that human runners don't. And it's normally a really long level. So see if you can guess what it is that the TAS has figured out and that makes it into the run.
I'm gonna say it's loops.
It's loops! And also out of bounds. 2 loops there and then 1 out of bounds, and we're going straight to the end. And that skips a huge section. Like, there is a skip in this level that is crazy difficult that human speedrunners do. It saves like 10-15 seconds. Even that is not enough to get it into the run. It is only faster for TAS. Cheeky little edge pull there in this hub movement to avoid having to do some wall jumps. And now we're into the 3rd hub of Sky Kingdom.
And yeah, Sky Kingdom just continues to show that it is the best kingdom in the game.
Truly.
This next level has some brilliant geometry to build up speed. We're going to be doing a few wall jumps here and then into a ceiling, which lets us glide out of it and just do more wall jumps, looping, building up speed, dodging an invisible death zone there on the way up, and just beelining it to the exit. Bet the devs never expected anyone to have to avoid that going that way.
All right. So,
And then,
sorry, that's your level.
So yeah, even more wall jumps into ceilings, just building up speed with extreme speed. More loops, building up speed.
More
skipping
loops.
The second half of this level completely. Yeah.
It's just loops. It's the kingdom of loops.
Loop Kingdom.
Loop Kingdom. All right. This level is another sort of claustrophobic, spiky sort of level. There's going to be a section at the end here where we can't maintain any of our vertical speed, but we can maintain horizontal speed. And so we're going to use a wall jump to convert our vertical into some horizontal. You'll see it right here. Go down to build up a little bit of extra wall jump, and then edge pull there, seemingly needlessly high for the route we're taking, but we're basically making full advantage of the zero gravity frames there, gaining as much height as possible with them before turning around, just barely making it up to the top there and skipping the section out to the right.
And that's us done with Sky Kingdom. So we're going to be playing with this next cutscene a little. The way that they work is that the player is hidden and the inputs are locked, but the player is still updated and the camera still follows them. So if you're going fast enough, you can send the cameraman for a wild ride, and if you hit a death zone, you gain control again and can become this ghostly quill.
All right, one more dream here. We're going to see the way the power of the cloaks was stolen from the people of this kingdom, and without the power of the cloaks, the flying buildings of the Sky Kingdom come crashing to the ground. And now we're closing in on the individual responsible for this. We're headed into the Fallen Kingdom, and this is basically a final challenge of skill of this game. It takes the techniques that you've learned throughout every single other level, even the bonus levels, the levels we haven't played, and it puts them to the test here. It's also a very linear level. Every single section here has basically one solution, and so it's not that interesting for routing, and it's pretty slow. It's almost 2 minutes long for the speedrun. But as a TAS, we don't have time for that. We're going to save 3 minutes. We're going to do some loops on this side, come out here, out of bounds there, just to get a more direct line out to this side, and now we're outside of the level, building up speed on this little cubby hole out here. Actually, more speed than we build up anywhere else in the TAS. 374 kilometers per hour is what we're looking at here. Take all that speed screaming down underneath the bottom of the level and up the right-hand side. And just like in Home, how there's a cutscene that teleports you to the end gate after it completes, but the end gate's just accessible? Yeah, it's just sitting out there, and we can go to it. So that skips a minute of gameplay and a 2-minute cutscene in which we encounter the usurper, the man missing from all the murals, the man responsible for destroying 3 kingdoms, and we accidentally set him free en route to our home kingdom, the kingdom to which, by the way, the refugees of the other 3 kingdoms all had to flee in terror of this one individual. And remember how we've been encountering these sort of glowing totems at the end of every single level in the other 3 kingdoms. And remember how I said that the people of this game, they can't leave a barrier without their cloaks. Well, the barrier around our home kingdom, yeah, it's not there anymore. And here are the people. They're not dead, they're just in stasis. They're waiting for either their cloaks to be returned or the barrier to be restored. One last out of bounds here, and we're going to clip a respawn trigger that extends beneath the floor, jump into a death plane, and that is going to respawn us at the final confrontation.
And here he is, the big bad, the usurper. So this fight is pretty much an auto-scroller. The only way to deal damage to him is to reflect these orbs he throws at us, and all the attacks are the same every time. So we're going to have a bit of fun instead.
Yeah, this laser that he spawns, it will kill you. It's just we can go fast enough to pass through its hitbox in a single frame. Now he's going to attempt to shoot some missiles at us. But we feel kind of bad for him, so we keep one of them around, and as we land the second blow, we let him deal a hit on us.
Well, yeah, so as well as helping him save face there, we actually save some time by dying. Because after each hit on the boss, he waits about 4 seconds before starting his next round of attacks. But if we die, he only waits about a second before starting again. So the fastest way to beat this boss is actually to die as soon as possible after each hit.
Yeah, and this is just a very fun fight in general to TAS. Because it's basically an auto-scroller, we get to play around. We get to do stuff you wouldn't normally see in this run, show off little bits of movement, build up crazy amounts of speed, because why not? Just fly around, keeping these missiles on screen, doing a little bit of a cheeky dance on this corner here right before the spikes appear. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. And now he's going to be entering his second phase where he begins flying around. And he does this by sort of pseudo-randomly choosing from a bunch of fly points that are scattered throughout the arena. It's deterministic, so as long as we move in the same manner every single time, he'll move in the same manner. But if we move even slightly differently, then the closest 7 points around Quill, which is what he's targeting, might be different, and he might end up going to a completely different part of the arena by the end of the phase, in a sort of chaotic cascade. So now, if you think about the fact that we have to manipulate the boss while also manipulating the missiles that he's shooting and Quill's position so that all 3 of them end up within the same circle at the same time at the end of each phase so that we can deal the blow and also die, it makes it a very interesting fight to TAS.
So there's a failsafe at the end of this boss where after the final blow, if you're low enough, the game will immediately just go to the next level. So obviously that's what we'll be doing, hitting as low as possible. And here it is, the final blow. We're going to be using our cloak to infiltrate his barrier and steal his cloak back from him, defeating him once and for all. And here, because we chose the cloak ending, we're going to be releasing the cloaks back to the people, which might soft lock the game, who knows. And time is on fade to black. Here we go. And time.
And there it is.
Soft lock. So that was the King's Bird. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, we've got to give some shout outs now. Mythical9, who's been a huge help for us putting together the commentary for this run, and without whom we probably wouldn't be here. Ryu, who's the lifeblood of our community and really kept us inspired and motivated to push this TAS out. As well as all the people hunting the IL leaderboards, the online leaderboards, and keeping this community alive.
Yep, and we have a Discord server, so if you thought this game looked cool and you'd like to join in, yep, you can find it on the speedrun.com page. There is a tiny link in the corner.
Very hard to find.
Yep. So, yeah, I think that's all from me.
I believe so, yeah.
So I've been Alexspeedy.
And I've been Gliperal. Oh, wait. We have to mention, coming up after this,
Yep.
if you enjoyed this, tool-assisted speedruns, we got a whole nother hour of them coming up. Dwango's going to be doing, I don't even know what, but it's going to be awesome. So check that out.
Yep.
And I think that is the final thing we have to say.
Yeah.
So
enjoy the rest of ESA. Thank you for having us.
Well, I'm not going to let you go away quite yet because we got so many donations in and I want you to be able to hear them all. Starting with Straight Flame, $10, saying, "Hi, Glip. Wow, you sure get all these glitchy corner jumps and glip jumps and stuff consistently. Hard to believe there's actually a human playing this right now. Also, I've never seen a Knit Stories level where the camera can move like this. Does one of you... does the one you're playing use some kind of Knit Stories EX trickery or something?" We also have Ananas here with $7.97 saying, "I heard a call for a $7.97 train. Oh, 700? Sorry." We also have $15 here from Lucinda saying, "Nice work, Gliperal. Also, someone cure Alzheimer's, please." We are working on it with all your generous donations here. We have $10 from Trigoni saying, "Hey y'all, I want to thank you again for making ESA and sharing it with us every year. I always look forward to it and I love every second I spend watching it. It's just such an amazing event and all the effort that goes into it from everybody is incredible. Thank you all for doing this, runners and ESA team. Let's make this run even longer. We can always need more ESA. This goes to the bonus game. Let's make it happen. Love you all and enjoy." We also have Hell Yeah Corp with $10 saying, "More loops, my lord." And then we have a final one here, $5 from an anonymous donor saying, "If everyone watching right now donates just $5, we can crush the bonus run incentive and get that milestone madness met at the same time." What do we think? Are we up for the challenge? Thank you so much. That was an absolutely amazing showcase. And if you are in the mood for more tasks, there is more tasks coming right up.